Welcome back, Sprocketeers, to another episode of Safi Sprocket, and today we are finally doing my unfiltered complete review of the Insta360 X3. I nearly said X2 then. This one was completely my fault. Now, a lot of you got so mad, like really mad, at my unboxing video, with the main complaint being that I should have opened the box, played around with all of the contents of the box, to then reopen it on camera. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, I'm gonna be honest. But like I said at the start of the video, I was planning to play around with the camera for a few months before doing a full review. And well, here we are. So without further ado, let's jump straight into my review video. So straight off the bat, what is the Insta360 X3? Now, the X3 is an exceptional action camera that excels in a whole variety of random ways, and its true prowess lies in its ability to capture stunning 360-degree videos while delivering an impressive 4K quality of footage. In terms of single lens clarity, outperforms the GoPro Max statistically, hands down. But as a single lens shooting camera, whether it does actually stand up to its competitors, well, that's kind of a matter of opinion, and it's one I'm not going to get into today. But what I am going to jump straight into is the design of this camera. Now, the Insta360 X3, similar to its predecessor, is a compact, slick shaped camera. Now, it features a thread-mounted point on the bottom of the camera for attaching a selfie stick, and despite the lack of ergonomic grip contouring, it does actually fit really comfortably in your hands. So the sides of the camera are made of plastic with a diamond embossed texture, providing extra grip. Oh no, I've lost it. Oh gosh. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We've got it. It's not really proving my point. Providing extra grip while the front and the back of the camera are made of soft touch plastic. Now, unlike the GoPro, none of the surfaces have a rubberized feel, and you do end up worrying about the screens and the glass a little bit. Now, this fear factor is definitely unavoidable with a 360-degree camera because there's no way to safely put it down on a table without it falling over. If you pop it on the side, it just falls. If you pop it up, there's no way. It always falls onto the dome lenses. However, there is a really easy way around this, and that's what I did, which is just to buy a lens guard and pop it on each side. And when the lens guards get a little bit too scratched or the seals start to fail, I just rip them off and replace them with new ones, no issues. However, returning to the camera, you'll notice a relatively large screen and new buttons for video capturing and switching between the front and rear lens. The information I wish I had learned before using the camera. The Insta360 X3 has 4 physical buttons, 2 in the front and 2 on the side. However, the interface is primarily touch-based, and it incorporates a few gestures that you will need to familiarize yourself with. For example, swiping right, you'll access the shooting mode screen, and if you swipe right from the end of the display, your Insta360 will display captured clips instead. Now, once you're accustomed to the X3, it is relatively easy to use, but I'll be honest, straight out of the box, I did find it very confusing, and I still feel like I'm getting to grips with all of the features even now. And it's not that the additional buttons and the swiping are a bad idea, extra features are always handy. It's just that right now it doesn't really feel natural, kind of like when you switch from an iPhone to an Android and you have to kind of retrain your brain on how to close tabs. When I started using this straight out the box, I never realized how easy it was to switch between a single camera and the 360-degree cameras as well. This means that there were so many situations where I was trying to hit record whilst wearing my bike gloves and hitting the mode buttons instead. And it's not always apparent when this happens either. When I returned from the AVR Fest, I discovered that most of my buggy footage was filmed on a single lens mode, and I was gutted to say the least. So I've recently been having a few conversations with Insta360 about some of the problems I've been facing as a motorcyclist using this camera. And obviously one of the issues that cropped up was the inability to set the camera up correctly while wearing bike gloves, because it's just quite difficult to do. Now, Insta360 recently sent me this remote control, which has pretty much eradicated this issue since it's relatively idiot-proof. And let's be honest, guys, I can be a little bit of an idiot sometimes. Now this is something that's worth investing if you do use the Insta360 for capturing motorcycle footage, because it's just so annoying having to set the camera up and then get all your gear on. So having the ability to literally just put what looks like a 90s calculator watch on my wrist and then just hit and go, it's definitely worth its weight in gold. Now, if you don't want to purchase this, it's definitely worth spending some time familiarizing yourself with all of the controls so that you don't end up doing what I did. Otherwise, you'll return home with some really disappointing footage. Now, one of the big questions on everybody's minds is why on earth did Insta360 put a giant screen on the back of their camera? This is something I also wondered about, especially with the fact that I'm mounting it to a motorcycle and I know what stone chips are like. It only takes one to just completely obliterate it. But then I came to realize that the screen style of the Insta360 X3, it's designed with influencers and content creators in mind, rather than your traditional action camera, which often had a place at home videos and travel vlogs and anything unique that people wanted to get pictures and videos of. It wasn't necessarily specifically designed for people to make content with. Now on to the next feature of the camera, which is water resistance. Now the Insta360 X3 offers twice the water resistance of the GoPro Max with a 10-meter rating, and is on par with the GoPro Hero 11. Now if you do intend to dive around 10 meters or more, you really should be using the Insta360 dive case. The reason being is that the added pressure when the camera is submerged makes capturing anything beyond shallow depths a little bit risky. Now guys, I'm going to be completely honest, I haven't tested the Insta360 in water, and the reason being is because I'm a little bit afraid of water. But I do use it in the rain and it hasn't fallen victim to any thunderstorms yet. However, the lenses do tend to hold onto water droplets. I noticed this a lot when I was climbing up Stabilization Pass in the rain. Just a lot of my footage basically had these giant golden globes around it. Straight on to performance. Now the Insta X3 boasts a higher battery capacity of 1,800 milliamps, which can last up to 81 minutes. And that's recording 360 degree 5.7K resolution. Like, that's pretty impressive. However, I did notice that after 15 minutes, the battery had only dropped to around 85%. So I do actually think this could last a little bit longer. Now, stabilization used to be a major point of competition amongst action camera manufacturers, and whilst it still matters for budget options, discussing in terms of the Insta360 cameras has become a little bit mundane. That's because the flow state stabilization has been consistently excellent for a long time. I put this thing to the back of my motorcycle and I ride over all kinds of rocks and lumps and absolute nonsense on the road, and looking back at the footage you'd have no idea. And part of the reason is because it's filming 360 degree footage and it does get a sense of the horizon, it's able to basically stabilize it pre-edit, which is always really impressive. And anything that helps save on workflow time, I'm always very fond of. Now, one of the features that I do really like on the camera is the ability to direction lock, which helps you save a lot of time post-editing. Ordinarily, if you don't set the direction lock up, you end up sitting there tracking each individual frame by frame until you get that perfect head-on shot that you really, really want. Now on to a point of contention, which is the X2 versus the X3. Now, I feel like many of you really misunderstood why I was so disappointed in the X3. And it wasn't because I thought it was a bad camera, quite the opposite. I previously owned the X2, which I bought off Facebook Marketplace for about £200. Now, I used this camera all throughout my Europe trip, so when the X3 was announced, I was so incredibly excited to get my hands on it. And although it was insanely expensive, because I'd had such a good experience with the X2, I was happy to drop the cash on it. However, like many other YouTubers, when the X3 did finally arrive, I wasn't convinced that it was worth the upgrade. And the main reason is that there isn't really a lot of difference between the two cameras. They both capture 360 degree footage in a 5.7K resolution. The only real difference between the X3 and the X2 is the fact that the X3 can capture up to 4K with a single lens. On the other hand, the X2 is limited to only 1440p with its single lens option. The other difference is that when it comes to photography, the X3 does outperform its predecessors with an impressive 72 megapixels, which is 4 times the resolution of their previous cameras. The fact that they also sprinkled some HDR tech on top makes it more color accurate in lower light levels. And so if you plan to use the camera as a standard action camera or to take photographs, the upgrade would make sense. However, this isn't really what I've ever planned to do with this camera, and I don't really intend to do it going forward. I don't really know anyone that uses the Insta360 for anything other than 360 footage, and the idea of having this hanging off my chin mount doesn't really seem appealing. I'm gonna be completely honest, guys. I feel like I had every right to be a little bit disappointed when I dropped 400 pounds on a camera that was near enough identical to the one that I already owned. So let's get on to, is it worth buying this camera? Now I'm gonna stand by my original first impression, and that is if you're upgrading from an X2 to an X3, it's not worth it. It makes so much more sense just to keep the camera that you have. And unless you're interested in using this as a replacement for a GoPro, or you want to use it for photography, then sure, it might make sense to upgrade. But if you're only using it for 360 footage like I do, it makes no difference whatsoever. However, if you don't already own a 360 camera and you do want to purchase one, then it makes complete sense to buy the X3 because it works out a lot cheaper than buying the X2. Plus you get all of the additional warranties included as you would do with any gadget. Now let's shift gears to the motorcycle accessory pack. You can purchase a motorbike bundle, which basically includes a selfie stick, a utility frame, and also a helmet mount. It's basically everything you need to capture footage for your motorcycle from all the various different angles. Now the bike bundle securely attaches the camera to your motorbike for what Insta360 call dynamic low angle shots. Now I was highly critical of the contents of this pack in my unboxing video. However, I'm incredibly excited to announce that Insta360 reached out to me after watching my video, and we had a little bit of a discussion. And as a result, they've now redesigned the motorcycle accessory pack to include higher quality parts. The contents have been swapped over to sturdier and heavier components. They also reorganized the contents of the box to make it more consumer friendly the moment you open it, which is all I really want from a product, and that is for it to be ready to go and easy to understand when I open it. I don't want to spend hours researching how to use it. I'm genuinely really excited that Insta360 listened to my feedback and they went away and they tweaked their product to be more reliable and more premium at absolutely no extra cost to bikers. Now this isn't the first time I've criticized a product online, and the vast majority of the time companies have just either ignored me or they've sent me a really crafty takedown notice that I just casually ignore. The fact that Insta360 actually made the effort to understand why I had a problem with their product and then owned up to it and did something about it is really, really awesome. And the motorcycle kit wasn't the only thing that they upgraded either. They wrote back to me and they explained to me that they decided to create a more portable, lightweight selfie stick. And regarding the criticisms that I had with the sticky mounts that came with the camera, as I mentioned in my unboxing video, I wasn't impressed with the quality at all. However, Insta360 have assured me that they're currently looking into changing their production line so the mounts that they produce are high quality going forward. Now I know a lot of you were upset about how critical I was of the product, but in all honesty, I still stand by my opinion. I do think it was justified. However, the real winner here is Insta360 because I have to hand it to those guys. They've come across really well throughout the entire saga. I think as a company, they have a pretty good attitude about implementing changes, and the fact that they do take the time to listen to what their consumers want and then take those wants and needs on board going forward. I'm almost certain that they're going to be doing really good things in the future, and I'm kind of excited to see what more they produce. And whilst I initially had a really bad experience of it, it's turned out really well because overall it's going to benefit the whole biker community in its entirety, which is really exciting, guys. So there we have it, guys. That is my entire Insta360 X3 review. Now if you guys do want to see more great bike content, don't forget to hit subscribe. In the meantime, ride safe, stay crazy. My name's Sappy Sprocket and I'll see you next week.
This one was completely my fault.